What is stress? Welcome to the GMS Wellness Team's 4-part series on stress relief. In today's video, I will be focusing on what stress really is. No matter what job you have, it may be in HR, sales, payroll, or even upper management, there is no way to avoid stress, but we all have a choice to act in a healthy way. Here's what's on the agenda for today. We're going to go into a brief discussion about what stress truly is. We're going to talk about the 3 different types of stress, review some examples of the positive and negative stressors that can come up in life, look at how stress responds in our bodies along with reviewing the health issues that can occur, and lastly, we're going to learn some different ways of how to deal with it. Stress is the body's reaction to a stimulus that disturbs our physical and mental equilibrium. Most stress that we experience in life is self-generated. It truly is all in how we perceive life, whether that specific event makes us feel threatened or stimulated or encouraged or happy or sad, depends largely on how we perceive ourselves. Stress comes in 3 different forms: acute, episodic acute, and chronic. Stress management can be complicated and confusing, and with each type of stressful event comes its own characteristics, symptoms, duration, and even treatment. Let's take a look at each one. The first one is acute stress. This is the most common form. It typically comes from the demands and pressures of the past or of the near future. Stress in small doses can be thrilling and exciting, but too much can be exhausting too. For example, it's your first run down a challenging ski slope in the beginning of the day. You're thrilled to be out there, you're excited, but if you took that same hill and went down later in the evening, you'd be exhausted. Fortunately, acute stress symptoms are recognized by most people. It's that laundry list of things that go wrong in people's lives. The loss of an important contract, the deadline that you're trying to meet, or even those occasional scheduling problems. Since acute stress is short-term, it doesn't quite have enough time to do the extensive damage associated with long-term stress. Some common symptoms are emotional distress like anger or irritability, anxiety, depression. It could come with some muscular problems, some stomach issues, gut and bowel problems, rapid heart rate, sweaty palms. The good thing is, acute stress is highly treatable and manageable. Episodic acute. This is the second form of stress, and it can be caused if you suffer from that acute stress quite frequently. Some people who experience this may have had a series of events or challenges that were extremely stressful in their life. For example, your spouse loses their job, and then you develop a health problem, followed by getting your child to behave in school. Now, there may be times in our life that we go in and out of this type of stress, but it would be extremely helpful to have an action plan for when these stressful events do happen to us. Another quality you typically see is the tendency to worry endlessly about all of the bad things that can happen to you. Sort of like running like a stress machine. Lifestyle and personality issues are so habitual in everybody's lives, and it is something we do without even thinking. But typically, individuals with this kind of continuous stress see that they don't even have it because of how continuous it is in their lives. Some common symptoms are emotional distress, persistent headaches, chest pain, heart disease, migraines, hypertension. These common symptoms are very similar to acute stress. The last type of stress is called chronic stress. There are some crossovers between acute and episodic acute, but chronic is the longest lasting type of stress. It comes from the ongoing demands and the pressures and the worries that seem to go on forever with little hope of letting up. It can destroy our bodies, destroy our minds, and even destroy our lives. It can be so harmful to our health and our happiness. Typically, it comes when a person never sees a way out of that miserable situation. You will see some chronic stress stem from childhood trauma. Just depends on the situation. Also, people tend to get used to this type of stress because of how frequent it is in their lives, similar to episodic. Even though people can sometimes get used to it though, and may feel that they don't notice it that much, it continues to wear people down and has a negative effect on their relationships and their health. Chronic stress can affect everyone differently, but it has been proven to lead to heart attacks, stroke, and possibly suicide. So what things stress us out? A stressor is a factor that causes stress. The top two stressors that are most noticeably seen are work and money. Go figure. There are both positive and negative stressors in life. The most important part here is to recognize the source of the stress and to try to tackle it. Sometimes the positive stressors can stress us out too, but knowing this and having a plan can help bring a healthy balance. Some examples of the positives would be getting a job promotion, taking on that additional responsibility, having a baby, marriage, taking a vacation. We all want to get our feet in the sand, but it takes some prepping and planning, or picking up a new hobby. Some negative stressors would be death of a family member or a close friend, an illness or a hospitalization of yourself or a family member, unemployment, or money issues. Stress can be handy for a burst of extra energy and focus, but when it's continuous, it actually begins to affect our function and our health. What are the most significant health problems related to stress? Heart disease is number one. Research has suspected that those stressed out have a higher risk for high blood pressure and heart problems. Number two, asthma, obesity, diabetes, headaches. Stress is actually considered one of the most common triggers for headaches. Depression and anxiety, gastrointestinal problems, Alzheimer's disease, accelerated aging. Now, I would like to introduce you guys to the 4 A's. This is a tool that I really hope everybody can use at some point in their life during that stressful situation. Let's take a look. Your first line of defense against stress should be avoidance. If there is any way to avoid a potentially stressful situation, by all means do so. But with that being said, not all stress can be avoided. Sometimes you may have to take the stress head on. It's important to learn how to distinguish between one from the other. Among the most common ways to avoid stress is take control of your surroundings. Avoid those people who really bother you. This could be a family member, a coworker, a friend. Learn to say no sometimes and ditch part of your list. If you can't avoid that stressful situation, then do what you can to alter it. Changing things that are causing you stress can save you from being subjected to a great deal of stress in the future. So when faced with a stressful situation, figure out what you can do or how you can change things to lessen your stress. So some strategies are: respectfully ask others to change their behavior. Communicate your feelings openly. Manage your time better. And state your limits in advance. Not everything is within your control, so you're really bound to come across things which are unavoidable and inevitable, like a sudden illness or losing something or someone very important to you. In such cases, the best ways to cope with stress is to just accept things the way that they are. Some things that you can easily do to accept a stressful event is to talk with a loved one. Forgive. Practice that positive self-talk. And learn from your mistakes. Sometimes the only thing that you can do, though, to manage that stressful situation is to just adapt to it. There are certain things that are unchangeable or out of your control, so instead of continuously stressing yourself out over these things that you have no control of, it's best to just adjust or modify yourself. You can deal with stress throughout adjusting your standards, reframing the issue, really taking a step back and looking. Adopt a mantra. Some that may be familiar to you are, "This too shall pass," or "This experience doesn't define me." And lastly, taking a look at the bigger picture. So what else can I do to help with stress? Identify your warning signs. This can vary from person to person, but for example, If you tend to clench your jaw before getting stressed out, notice the next time you're doing that and try getting up for a walk or heading outside for a breath of fresh air. Identify your triggers. If you know what your triggers are, you can aim to anticipate them and practice calming yourself down beforehand or even removing that trigger. Establish a routine. This can be very calming and reassuring and can help manage your stress. Spend some quality time with people who care. Look after your own health. Make sure you're getting plenty of exercise, eating the proper foods, and taking time to do activities that you find calming. Notice your self-talk. When we get stressed out, sometimes we get caught in our brains saying things like, I can't, or I'm just too busy. Try turning those talks into something positive. And last but not least, practice relaxation. This will help your body and nervous system settle down. So coming up in part 2, we're going to talk about mindfulness. We're going to dive into the reality of stress and learn different ways that mindfulness could help us out. See you all next time.